Before we start by looking at some games with the thrust g2, g4, let me say a few words about the general goals in the opening and why this move g2, g4 is not as rare as one may think. The common strategy, common primary goals in the opening is to control or take the center. Therefore, both sides usually start by pushing one of the central pawns, then develop few pieces, play some solid moves, castle, and so on. But this move, g2, g4, also participates in the fight for the center, as we will see. I will show you some lines that have been approved by theory, for instance after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, g4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, e6, and now comes the move g2, g4, which is named the Keres attack. Here the knight already stands at f6, but we have also seen more recently lines of the Sicilian defense where the knight is not yet developed and white plays g2, g4 already. In that case, black still has the option to develop the knight to e7 and then to g6, but this costs one more tempo and the knight is probably less well placed on g6 than on f6. So in that case too, the move g2, g4 would make sense. Usually, black has a common way to react to g2, g4, which is to play h7, h6. In that case, this can slow down the white attack. Indeed, white will need an extra move to play g4, g5 under good circumstances. That is, he will play h2, h4, and then usually move his rook to g1, or in this Keres attack, he could also consider playing the move bishop g2 and then g2, g4 in order after h takes g5 to recapture with the pawn h4 takes g5. The advantage of playing so as black, I mean to react to g2, g4 by h7, h6, is that the black rook would be activated after the opening of the h file. There is also one drawback for black, as white will more easily open lines on the king side, thanks to the lever g2, g4. Since white is the one attacking on principle on the king side, because he has more space, this can be more helpful to white in many cases. So black must be very cautious if he decides to react to the move g2, g4 by playing h7, h6. Another topical line where the move g2, g4 has been put successfully into practice is in the Semi-Slav, d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, e6, e3, knight bd7, queen c2, bishop d6, and now comes g2, g4. This is of course by no way forced option for white, but it can unsettle an unprepared opponent much more than standard move like bishop e2, bishop d3, or b2, b3 in order to recapture on c4 with the pawn. As I have said before, bishop e2, bishop d3 or b3 would be much more classical ways to handle the opening stage. Here with g2, g4, white is again ready to push the knight back. If black simply castles, then after g4, g5, knight e8, white can play e3, e4 when he has completely seized the center, and he has very nice prospects. Another idea for white, and quite often he has got the choice between playing in the center after the knight has gone back to e8, or he can also continue his flank attack with h2, h4. Usually one is not supposed to attack on the wing when the center is not stabilized, but here we can see, as we will see also in the game between Giri and Michiels, that once the knight has retreated to e8, it takes some time to bring it back for the fight of the center, in this case probably via the c7 square, so that white can at leisure play on the wing. His king is not in danger, is not in particular danger in the center at the moment, since the black pieces are far away from creating threats. I show you another, and the last one, last opening before we deal with the three main games of this g2, g4 topic, namely after e4, e5, knight f3, d6, d4, knight f6, knight c3, knight b d7, and now the move g4 can also come. White can also prepare it with the weird rook g1. So even in the Philidor defense, an opening with which I have recorded another DVD for ChessBase, white can also try the move g2, g4 to leave the well-trodden path. So that was it for a small introduction on this g2, g4 pawn thrust.